It's time for yet another episode of the Music Business Radio Behind the Scenes podcast. I'm David Hooper, and with me today, nobody, just me, but I was in the Music Business Radio studios at Lightning 100 today earlier, and let me tell you how this started. I interviewed a guy named Trinidad Sanchez III, and I've got to give credit to a guy. His name is Doak Turner, and he has a website. It's called musicstartshere.org. Doak is a pretty connected guy in town, knows a lot of people, and I was at an event that I also found out about through Doak, and he said, hey, you got to meet this guy, Trinidad Sanchez, and I did meet him, and we brought him into the show. Strangely enough, he also brought in last week's guest, or introduced me to her, Lisa Harless out of Regions Bank. So shout out to Doak Turner. Check him out online at musicstartshere.com. He's got a lot of great stuff. And if you're ever in Nashville, like I said, he's a connected guy, and he's got a newsletter. It's called Nashville Muse. And it's really great to find like singer-songwriter related stuff, any kind of industry stuff, especially the singer-songwriter stuff, though. And if you're just interested just to kind of get a vibe of what we do here in Nashville and what the culture is like, check it out online. Just search for Nashville Muse, and you'll see the newsletter by Doak Turner, but musicstartshere.org is his website. Also some great stuff there. So let me tell you about Trinidad Sanchez III. He's with Trinity Entertainment Group. It's a management, booking, and production company. Let me tell you about who he's worked with. David Benoit. And don't confuse him. In my book, Six Figure Musician, this is really kind of strange. It's a guy I talk about. His name is Benoit David. And Benoit David is a French-Canadian who sang for the band Yes. He was the lead singer after John Anderson and was on tour with them for probably 5 or 6 years, and I tell that story in the book Six Figure Musician. But David Benoit is a guy, he's done a lot of stuff. He's a jazz musician, done a lot of stuff for Charles Schultz Estate, done a lot of stuff for Peanuts. Anyway, Trinidad has worked for David Benoit, the jazz guy, not the Yes singer. The Rippingtons, David Pack from Ambrosia, Fernando Ortega, Hillary Watson, Colby Calais, the Band Perry, Jody Messina, Steve Warner, a lot of people. He started as a roadie, and that to me was really interesting because great stories as a roadie, but we get a lot of email say, hey, how do you break into the music business? I get a lot of just questions, Twitter messages, and who knows what kind of contacts, letters. Old-fashioned letters. Hey, David, how do I break into the music business? I'm willing to do anything. Well, roadie is a good place, and if you're interested in seeing the country, at least the inside of some clubs and backstage is moving equipment around, it can be a really good job, and that's how Trinidad got started. And he talks about moving his way up beyond roadie. He's a producer now, and he's also been a road manager. We talked about being on the road with Colby Calais. We talked about being on the road with the band Perry. We talked about really kind of the day in the life of not only a tour manager, but what these bands have to go through. Got some really great practical advice. If you want to know what it takes to get to the top, if you want to know what it takes to stay on top, I think this is a really, really excellent show. Let me kind of run by what we talked about. By the way, this show, Gary Crane, our normal producer, had to go to a meeting, and we had a new producer, Laren, came in and produced the show. So, Laren, thank you very much for that. But we talked about Trinidad starting the business, just seizing the opportunity, and just kind of the big surprise that he felt, once he got on the road. It wasn't like he thought. He moved up to doing front of house sound, like mixing, and jazz versus pop. We talked about that. Like I said, David Benoit was a jazz guy, then he moved over to the pop world, moved over to the country pop world. We got advice for first-time touring artists, talked about the difference between not only jazz versus pop, but also country music, and what it's like just to go on the road with these varieties of bands, how to get the gig. Talked about fame versus reality. A lot of people think that, maybe these artists have it easy, and the roadie is the guy who's doing all the work, but it's not necessarily that. The artists are doing a different type of work, definitely, but those guys are working as hard as anybody. He said something that I thought was really interesting. He said, life leaves clues, and we talked about how really no matter what you do in the music business, everybody's watching, and you never know when something you do is going to come back. And I thought it was a really great story about a job that he had, and it ended successfully. He talked about, he said, I had the opportunity to just kind of flip out and end it in a bad way, but I didn't. And then 18 years later, it ended up being a really, really great opportunity. We talked about little things, your reputation, developing a reputation, going in on time, ending on time, so the headlining act can come in. We talked about just kind of dealing with stresses of the road, like maybe not getting the let's say, the dressing room that you want, and how to deal with that. It sounds like really, it sounds kind of obvious, but there are a lot of bands, I've seen him, and he had certainly stories about guys on the road that just are not taking care of their business, and some really great advice for networking, getting radio people to play your stuff, making a really great connection. So this is a really, really great show. It's Trinidad Sanchez, and you can look him up. The company is called Trinity Entertainment Group. It's based out of Nashville, trinityentertainmentgroup.com. Also, Demo Derby, of course we did that, because with Trinidad, he spends his day working in the studio and doing production and artist development and working on a creative end. We had Laura Jean from England. We had Fifth Story. These guys are great. I really like them, from Chicago, Illinois. Journey Box, also from England, and a lot of stories in between. So if you're interested in finding out how to break into the music industry, getting on the road, what it takes to not only get on the road and not only get to the top, but stay on the road and stay on top of your game, this is a great episode. Trinidad Sanchez at Trinity Entertainment Group. I'm David Hooper. Thank you for listening. Thanks for supporting the show. If you have demos that you want to send to us, let me know via Twitter. I'll get you the address. You can reach me at David Hooper on Twitter. Also, if you have just any general music business questions, feel free to reach out at David Hooper on Twitter. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time when I'm back in the Music Business Radio studios.